Ever craved something, like really craved something so badly you'd, I don't know, move heaven and earth to get it?
Hmm. Okay. I'm intrigued. What you got in mind?
We're talking black pepper.
Black pepper, you mean like the stuff in my pantry?
Yeah, exactly. Turns out this everyday spice, this little black speck, it played a huge role in a historical turning point, the fall of Constantinople.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Black pepper and the fall of Constantinople. I gotta admit, I don't see the connection.
Most people don't, but trust me, it's there. But to really get it, we need to rewind a bit, set the stage.
All right, let's do it. Take me back in time.
Picture this. It's 1453, and we're in Constantinople. But this isn't just some city. We're talking about a vibrant melting pot, a place where East meets West.
Right, Constantinople. I know it was important, but remind me, what made it so special? Why all the fuss?
Imagine centuries of history, culture, and enough riches to make even, well, let's just say, to make anyone drool. Constantinople was the ultimate prize.
I'm picturing it. This dazzling city, strategically located at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, right?
You got it. It was like having the keys to the world's best marketplace. They controlled vital trade routes, funneling those coveted spices, silks, all those luxuries from the East into Europe.
Ah, so that's where the black pepper comes in. Control the spices, you control, well, a lot.
Exactly. And to top it all off, they had the crown jewel, the Hagia Sophia. I mean, this building, it still blows minds today with its architecture. It was a symbol of Constantinople's power, a testament to their influence.
Don't tell me. One of the largest churches in the world at the time, showcasing the best of Byzantine art, engineering, a beacon for the empire.
You've got it. Okay, so we've got this powerhouse city, a vital trade hub, a cultural icon. You'd think it would last forever, right?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But, and you know there's a but coming, by the 1400s, the Byzantine Empire, they were holding on, but just barely.
Yeah, like they say, all good things.
Exactly. They were surrounded by rivals, weakened from within, and honestly, they were running out of options.
And that's where our ambitious newcomer enters the scene. The Ottomans. A rising power, hunger for land, for a legacy.
And they had their eyes set on the ultimate prize.
Oh yeah, Constantinople was in their sights.
And leading the charge, Sultan Mehmed II, only 21 years old at the time.
Wait, 21? Are you serious?
You heard me right, but don't let that fool you. This was a man driven to make history, and he saw capturing Constantinople as his destiny, his ticket to greatness, you know.
Okay, 21 years old, conquering empires. Talk about an overachiever. It sounds like this was about way more than just land, though, right?
You're spot on. This was about cementing a legacy. You got a seasoned emperor, Constantine XI, facing impossible odds, trying to rally his dwindling forces to defend not just land, but a 1,000-year-old legacy.
And on the other side, you've got young, ambitious Mehmed determined to forge his own path to greatness, ushering in a new era for the Ottoman Empire.
A clash of titans, indeed. A clash of titans is right. And this is where things get really interesting. See, Mehmed, he wasn't messing around. He knew this wasn't a fight he could win with brute force alone.
So what did he do?
He needed to cut off their lifelines. Enter the Rumeli Fortress.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Fortresses, always a good time. But what's so special about this one?
Picture this. Constantinople, right?
Yeah.
Peninsula, protected by water on 3 sides.
Got it. Natural defenses, hard to attack.
Exactly. But Mehmed builds this fortress on the European side of the Bosporus Strait, essentially choking off any chance of reinforcements or supplies getting through.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. A strategic blockade. He essentially put the city in a headlock, cut off from the outside world.
Exactly. No supplies, no escape, just the looming threat of what was to come.
Talk about a power move. Okay, but sieges, they could last for months, even years, right? What made Mehmed think he could break Constantinople? They had withstood sieges before.
That's where things get really interesting. Mehmed had a secret weapon, something that would redefine siege warfare forever.
Oh, come on, you gotta give me more than that. What? Did he invent some crazy new catapult, hire a team of super soldiers? What are we talking about here?
Cannons.
Cannons. But those were, I mean, they weren't new technology, right?
True, cannons existed, but nothing, and I mean nothing like what Mehmed brought to the table.
Okay, now you've piqued my curiosity. Paint me a picture. What did these cannons look like?
Imagine the Basilica Cannon. This thing was monstrous. I mean, absolutely massive. It took 60 oxen to move, hundreds of men to operate.
60 oxen! That's insane! Okay, so this thing was big, but what could it do?
It could launch a half-ton stone projectile over a mile.
A half-ton projectile, are you kidding me? That's like launching a small car at the city walls. No wonder they called it the Basilica.
And that was just one of many. Mehmed had a whole arsenal of these things, bombarding the city day and night.
I can only imagine what that must have been like for the defenders. This constant thunder, the feeling that the world was ending. It's hard to fathom the psychological impact. So with this game-changing technology, this rain of fire raining down on Constantinople, did the rest of Europe, I mean, did they just sit back and watch it crumble?
You'd think someone would have stepped in, right?
Yeah.
Especially since Constantinople had always been a buffer between Europe and, well, any potential threats from the East. But remember, history's messy.
Oh, I know, messy. What kind of mess are we talking about?
Europe, at this point, well, it was more like a bunch of squabbling siblings than a united front.
Ah, divided they fall.
Exactly. You've got England and France still duking it out in the Hundred Years' War. Then you've got the Italian city-states playing their own power games. Everyone was so busy looking over their shoulder, they missed the bigger picture.
So too busy fighting amongst themselves to present a united front. Okay, that explains some of it, but surely someone must have at least tried to help. Constantine, he didn't just sit back and wait for the inevitable, did he?
No, not at all. Constantine, he knew the empire was in trouble, so he did what any desperate leader would do. He sent out pleas for aid. But there was another layer of complexity at play here.
Another layer, don't tell me. I'm guessing it's religion again. It always seems to complicate things, doesn't it?
It really does. So even though both sides were Christian, the Great Schism of 1054 had created a rift between the Roman Catholic Church in the West and the Eastern Orthodox Church. And, well, let's just say, Constantine's pleas for help. They weren't exactly met with open arms.
So not only was Europe too busy with its own internal squabbles, but there was also this religious divide that made it nearly impossible for them to see eye to eye. It's just heartbreaking knowing that Constantine and his people were basically abandoned in their hour of need. It makes you think about the power dynamics at play, how sometimes, even with the best intentions, help never arrives. Okay, so back to Constantinople, facing impossible odds, the clock ticking down. We've got those legendary defenses. But could they withstand Mehmed's relentless assault? Was there any point, any glimmer of hope where it seemed like they might actually pull it off? Hold on.
Well, the Byzantines, they were fighters, and they knew how to utilize their city's natural defenses. They had the Golden Horn, right?
Wow.
The waterway that formed their natural harbor.
Right, hard to attack from the water if you can't get your ships in.
Exactly. So they stretched this massive chain across the Golden Horn. Think of it as a medieval security system, designed to keep the Ottoman fleet at bay.
Okay, a giant chain blocking the entrance to your city. That's a pretty effective keep-out sign. I'd love to see them try to break through that.
Right. It seemed like a foolproof plan. Until it wasn't.
Don't tell me Mehmed found a way around it. What did he do?
He did something so audacious that it still boggles the mind today.
Okay, now you have to tell me. Spill the beans.
Mehmed had his ships transported overland.
You're telling me he pulled a Christopher Columbus centuries before Columbus was even born?
He sure did. Imagine this. 70 Ottoman ships, fully crewed, fully equipped, being hauled over a hill, bypassing the chain and entering the Golden Horn from the most unexpected direction.
That's next-level ingenuity. I mean, it's one thing to lay siege to a city. It's another thing to outsmart their defenses in such a bold and unexpected way. I can't imagine what that must have done for morale inside the city. Talk about demoralizing.
It was a brilliant tactical maneuver, one for the history books, and it worked. With the Golden Horn now under his control, Mehmed was free to launch attacks from multiple fronts, tightening the noose around Constantinople. The defenders, they fought valiantly, but they were outmatched, outgunned, and let's face it, outsmarted.
It really makes you think about those final moments, those last stands. You can only hold on for so long. What happened when the walls finally fell?
Well, it wasn't pretty. May 29th, 1453. After weeks of relentless bombardment, the Ottomans, they finally breached the walls. The siege was over.
And what about Constantine? You mentioned he was a fighter. Did he go down swinging?
Accounts vary, but the story goes that Constantine, he knew the end was near, so what did he do? He took off his imperial regalia, all the fancy robes and such, and, well, he joined his soldiers on the front lines, fought alongside his people until his final breath.
Wow, talk about going down with the ship. It's tragic, but man, it's also kind of inspiring, you know?
It really is. A ruler choosing to face his fate not as an emperor, but as a soldier defending his home. It's a powerful image.
Absolutely. So the city falls, the emperor, he's gone. What happened to the people? the citizens of Constantinople?
It was chaos, a frightening time. Some fought back, of course, some sought refuge in churches, but many, sadly, were captured.
That's always been one of the harshest realities of war. The sacking of a city. It's a dark side of human nature.
It is. It was a different time, of course, but still.
Huh.
The fall of Constantinople, it sent shockwaves across Europe.
Yeah, I bet it did. You don't just lose a city like that and shrug it off. What was the reaction like? Did those feuding kingdoms finally realize, hey, maybe we should have teamed up back there?
You could say that. For centuries, Constantinople, it had been this symbol of Christendom, this bastion against the East. Its fall, well, it was a major blow, and a stark warning that the world, it was changing.
It's like that moment you realize the world doesn't revolve around you. So with the city now under Ottoman control, renamed Istanbul, what happened to all those trade routes? The spices, the silks, everything Constantinople was known for.
That's the thing about trade. Disrupt those established routes and things get interesting.
Interesting good or interesting bad?
Both, actually. In this case, it forced European powers to explore new routes, to look beyond the familiar.
So are you saying that the fall of Constantinople, it led to the age of exploration? That's a pretty big consequence.
History is full of unexpected consequences, and it's not just about finding new trade routes. Remember all those scholars we talked about? The ones who fled Constantinople as the Ottomans approached?
Yeah, they didn't exactly travel light, did they?
Not at all. They brought with them a wealth of knowledge, ancient texts, philosophical ideas, things that had been, well, sort of lost to the West during the Middle Ages.
So it's like this incredible twist of fate, this devastating event, the loss of a city. It helps to spark a rebirth of knowledge, a revival of learning that helps to kick off the Renaissance.
Exactly. Out of the ashes, right.
Yeah.
And it's not just about pretty paintings and fancy sculptures either. The Renaissance, it was a time of intellectual ferment, a time of questioning, pushing the boundaries.
And to think, it all circles back to that one fateful event, the fall of a city. It just goes to show, history is full of surprises.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that even the mightiest empires can crumble, that innovation, it can change everything, and that sometimes the greatest changes, they come from the most unexpected places.
It's also a reminder, I think, of the importance of unity. Because if those European kingdoms, if they'd been able to set aside their differences, well, who knows what might have happened.
What if? Right. That's the thing about history. We can analyze it, learn from it, but we can't change it. But what we can do is take those lessons and apply them to our own lives, to the challenges we face today.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've just about reached the end of our deep dive into the fall of Constantinople.
It's been a journey, from black pepper to cannons, from the fall of empires to the birth of new ideas.
History, it's more than just dates and names. It's a tapestry, woven together with ambition, conflict, innovation, and yes, even a little bit of spice.
And sometimes those seemingly insignificant details, like a simple spice, they can reveal the most fascinating connections, the most unexpected consequences.
So, the next time you're at the spice rack, take a moment to appreciate the humble black peppercorn, because you never know, it might just inspire you to uncover your own historical adventure. Until next time, keep exploring.